Recording in progress. Now the recording's in progress and we'll start the CNP monthly webinar. The agenda you've all received. Happy Lunar New Year. School breakfast week. Please see the schoolnutrition.org and you can get your PR marketing and every resources from that website. NSLP training dates, again, start in July, the end of July in Boise and run through August. The RCCI training is July 23rd in Boise. And now we'll go to Provision 2. Cambria, please take it away.
So provision 2. So if you are currently in a provision 2 cycle, please follow any email instructions that you receive from Jax Dunham. He is our provision 2 coordinator. If you are on your 4th year of your cycle, which means that your cycle is expiring, an email will be sent with instructions to renew your provision 2 base year. So if you see an email from Jax Dunham, please pay attention to it. This is going to be super important information for you. And if you are considering starting a Provision 2 cycle for school year 24, please give Jax a call. He'll be able to explain the process to you. And please make sure that you are talking with your administration to plan ahead and discuss if this is fiscally viable, that your general funds will need to pay for anything that is not covered by your CNP reimbursement. So please make sure that you are having those discussions before you decide to operate any kind of provision. And that's it.
Thank you, Cambria. Next, we'll talk about the lunch eligibility report. And this is Melissa's time.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to kind of touch on what Cambria was just talking about with the general funds. This can affect your general funds as funding is a big thing. The report, the lunch eligibility report is a report of your free and reduced eligibility, and a lot of different funding sources use this. A lot of different entities, agencies. This is used for a lot of different things. So you want to make sure that you work with your IT person and get this information correct so that it's posted, because it's posted on the website and you want it to be correct, because if it doesn't match, you may not get the funding that your district needs. You want to advance to the next slide. The report is a snapshot of the free and reduced eligibility at each of your schools, and it's from the first Friday of the month, which is March 1st this year. You have to work with your IC coordinator, your IT department. Typically, it might be your business manager, it might be somebody else. You'll have to figure that out with your administration, who that is, and just to make sure that the data is being reported accurately. They'll upload that into the report. We'll send out notices when you can see the snapshot of that data in late March. So just be watching for that and be prepared to work with your IT folks. Thanks.
Thanks, Melissa. And now we have literacy from the lunchroom. This is a new segment. I know you have fun posters up in your cafeterias, and if you don't, please let me know and we'll get you some. But here I wanted to provide some resources for further promoting literacy. Here are a few suggestions. You can print off and display a copy of the cover of a book that might inspire a reader to reach out to search it out. We usually have a slide about what's in season. It's coming up soon. And here's a book called Ode to an Onion. It's a poetic picture book that is an ode to friendship, a humble vegetable, and an unexpected beauty. And related to President's Day, we have Thomas Jefferson Grows a Nation. It's a story about a founding father and farmer who nurtured seeds in science, liberty, and learning. And in a segue from President's Day to the anticipation of spring, I present First peas to the table. This is a story about how Thomas Jefferson inspired a school garden contest, and Jefferson called agriculture the crown of all sciences. Will his secret tip from 1771 help Maya with the contest? You'll have to read it and find out. And finally, From Seed to Plant is a book that introduces young readers to the processes of pollination, seed formation, and germination. There's even a bean growing project in the back. If you have a favorite book you would like featured, please let me know. You can email me at pmurray@sde.idaho.gov. And next we have our spotlight on local. This week is Idaho CSA week. It's happening, from the 19th to the 25th, and you can show support for your local farmers and ranchers. You can visit idahopreferred.com for more information on that. And the USDA Foods Catalog is now open and forecasting has begun. Have you thought about how you can supplement with school gardens and local food? Now is a great time to pitch the school garden idea to your wellness committee so it can get growing. And now our farm to school. What's in season? We still have apples and onions and potatoes in season, but next month we'll get started with a couple of more. Yay, spring. And now USDA Foods time. It's TJ's turn. TJ, take it away.
Thank you so much, Pamela. We're going to see if my ability to.
Oh, I would have to stop sharing here. I'll do it for you. Can you share your screen?
PJ, you are muted.
Thank you so much. All right, looks like Pamela's going to manage the slides, and I'll see if I can manage to actually talk to you folks. So just want to make sure everyone is fully aware. Broadcast email went out about the fact that the WebSCM ordering period has officially started. The catalog opened on February 19th. So let's talk a little bit about what it takes to be successful in this process. So I just wanted to remind everybody, it is a difficult time. We do not suggest that this is an easy task. One thing I will remind you is that this is a financial benefit to your school meals program. So if it's important, find a way to do it. If not, we do see people that have excuses, and if it's just simply not important, that's okay too. It is your program. They are your entitlement funds. We just want you to realize this is it. This is the time period when you can take advantage. Otherwise, your options for spending your entitlement are limited. And as I've always promised, for those that aren't interested in really utilizing 100% of their entitlement, that's okay by me, because I'll find a way to use it on behalf of all the other school districts. So with that in mind, the resources that you need to be able to be successful in this process are in two different locations. We have created the 24-25 WebSCM training activity in the CNP training portal. That's so that you can take advantage of the fact that you get professional standards credits for that. And there is a certificate. I want to remind folks that the certificate will not be made available until we close the course down. So we do that so that if you need to go back and revisit any of the information in the CNP training portal, you can access it multiple times. Once we've closed the catalog, we will close that training, and then your certificate of completion will be available to you. The other option is that we do have 21 minutes of 4 different videos available in the CNP YouTube channel. So if that's more user-friendly to you and you want to just do a quick review, one training at a time, it's really up to you. It all is the same information. In the CNP training portal, you will find access to the WebSCM user guide. Why is that important? Because the WebSCM user guide gives you the specific information you need to be able to enter a domestic order. So, Jenny, if you could please make sure you're muted, that would be super helpful. The user guide shows you how to run reports. It's everything you need to be able to understand how WebSCM functions. So please make sure you've downloaded a copy of that. We also sent a broadcast email with all the instructions. That particular broadcast email is also loaded into the CNP training portal. But you'll note on the broadcast email that we sent, we also put a link directly to a SharePoint file where you can find all of the resources. So whether you take the training through the CNP portal or you choose to use the CNP YouTube channel, in the broadcast email, there is a link, and on that SharePoint, you will find the WebSCM forecasting worksheet, the WebSCM user guide, and the broadcast email instructions in PDF format. So all of those resources, and then of course, the school year 24-25 WebSCM forecasting worksheet was also made available in the CNP training portal, and you can find it in our SharePoint file. So Pamela, if you'll advance. So the catalog opened on February 19th. It closes promptly at the end of day, March 3rd. So by midnight, don't try to enter any requisitions. We give you plenty of time to do this task, so please prioritize this. Once the catalog is closed, there is no, oh, I missed the deadline, what can you do for me? So please make sure, if it's important to you, that you get your requisitions entered. Before starting to enter requisitions, please, please, please make sure that you've completed the trainings and you've downloaded all of the resources. Entering requisitions in WebSCM is not a willy-nilly process. You need to know what USDA foods can I incorporate into my menus? What do they cost me? How much entitlement do I have? All of those things are guided through the trainings and the downloadable resources. So please use those trainings and the resources. You need to know your estimated available entitlement for program year 25. If you watch the trainings and you download the resources, you'll know how to make sure that you know what that figure is by running reports in WebSCM. Then, of course, the next step is you've got to enter your requisitions for USDA foods for school year 24-25. There are a couple of exceptions. Those folks may be on this call. There are some new sponsors participating that do not have access to school year 24-25 USDA foods products, but they can order seasonal produce. So you may notice that we changed things up a little bit on that WebSCM forecasting worksheet. I want everyone to be aware the forecasting worksheet is protected. In other words, if you try to enter information in a cell that we have protected, you will not be able to do it. We did that so that all you need to do is determine how many cases you need of any given product, whether it's a direct delivery, further processed chicken, or seasonal products. All you do is enter the number of cases in the month you desire to have the delivery. The spreadsheet will do the rest. So make sure you enter your requisitions for USDA foods before the end of the open period, which is March 3rd. Please, if you've done the trainings, get to work on entering your requisitions. You can do one section at a time. The spreadsheet is set up to help you succeed in that avenue, but we want to make sure that you're not delaying this process, because if push comes to shove and you haven't gotten those requisitions in, food will not be available to you. Please make sure that you've also entered requisitions for seasonal produce products. So the spreadsheet is designed with a tab that lists all products that are deemed seasonal. On that tab, there are products that are only shipped between July through September 2025. Those products are in blue. There are blue boxes to determine which of those products will be shipped to you July through September 2025. It will not draw down your current available entitlement. It will draw down entitlement from the following year, so that would be program 26 entitlement. So with that, Pamela, could you advance the slides? All right, and I do want to acknowledge, it looks like maybe our slide is possibly covering a little bit of information, but it's okay. There was determined, I want to thank Sandra from Payette, I believe. I hope I'm Midvale. She noticed that there was an issue with a formula. So what was happening in the entitlement planning calculator, line 4, the amount of entitlement spent for Tyson on processed chicken, on the processed chicken tab, was actually doubled on line 4 of the planning calculator. So what that meant was, for her specifically, it looked like she had spent 2,518 of her entitlement on chicken products, but she'd actually only spent 1,259. If you've already utilized the spreadsheet, now you know, right? But we immediately corrected the worksheet. You will find that it is labeled version 2, and it's in both locations. The new spreadsheet is in the CNP training portal, so you can simply go download it again if you have not started your forecasting, or you can find it in our SharePoint file if you have not started using the spreadsheet. But what I want you to understand is you do not need to complete the worksheet again if you've already done your forecasting. What you need to know is what I basically just said. The value in line 4, estimated spent on processed chicken products, is double. So how do you solve for that? You run your requisition status report to confirm exactly what was ordered. You can look for how many pounds were ordered of chicken 100103 and how much entitlement was spent on that, because the requisition status report puts estimated entitlement values. The other thing that you can do is run your entitlement bonus summary report, and it will confirm exactly how much of your available entitlement you've spent. And then if you want to proceed using that spreadsheet with the error in it, you don't have to do anything else. Or if you know you have additional funds to spend, you can download the new version and enter a few more forecasts, and then go in and enter requisitions for those products. So hopefully that makes sense to everyone. And then we'll go ahead and move along here. And again, if you don't have a WebSCM user guide and you don't know how to run those reports, please make sure you have access to that user guide. Running those reports is very, very basic. It happens in WebSCM. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about something that's different for us this year, and it may look like, we don't know what it's going to look like, I guess is what I need to say. So we had some outreach from a company called S&F Foods. S&F Foods is a processor manufacturer who creates products. They have always created products that they resell. It's norm in the industry. Think big companies like, oh, I don't know, maybe Kraft Foods. Kraft Foods creates lots and lots and lots of foods, but they don't own the label on many of the foods that they sell. They may sell an identical product with a Kraft Foods label, and then they'll relabel it for other commercial arenas, like maybe under, let's say, Kirkland brand, for an example. They will resell product to Costco under their Kirkland brand. The same is true for S&F Foods. They have always resold their pizza product, which we have always commonly referred to as the Pizza Ripper. They've always resold it to Classic Delight, Tools for Schools, Good Source, all those names. Okay, so Good Source is actually owns Classic Delight under Tools for Schools label. It's complicated, but at the end of the day, they always resold their product. They made a decision this year to take back all of the relabeled products and sell them directly. So we issued a SPA, a state participation agreement with S&F Foods, so that we could continue to bring in their pizza ripper, which is actually called a pizza breadstick. In the course of doing that, we learned that Classic Delight had gone out and procured a vendor who could duplicate the product that we have always known as the pizza ripper. It's totally legal to do that. It was not institutional information. So what we want you to know is our intention is to process foods with S&F Foods and Classic Delight. All I need for you to do is to identify the end product you want on our worksheet. Nothing's changed in that regard. If you want the pizza ripper, also known as the pizza breadstick, make sure you forecast on your spreadsheet. If you want the mozzarella breadstick, forecast on your worksheet. There's some calzones, forecast on your worksheet. Then make sure you enter requisitions for the cheese that makes those products and send to the delivery locations that are identified on the worksheet. Don't worry about anything beyond that. What we will do is look at the requisitions on our end and make a determination as to how many pounds will go to S&F Foods, how many pounds will go to Classic Delight. But here's the caveat. Classic Delight is doing their due diligence to test their pizza ripper product. There are some folks on this call that have already been contacted about that. If we deem it is not an identical product and we do not prefer the Classic Delight product, all pounds will end up being shifted to S&F. So I don't want you to stress about it. I just wanted you to be aware. It's important for us to be open in our conversations and our plans and transparent about how we plan to move forward with this particular process. So with that, please make sure once you've completed your forecasting worksheet, you save a copy. That's your information. The state distributing agency does not want to see it. We will not see it. Gold Star Foods, however, will request a copy of your worksheet. Why is that? Gold Star Foods acts as a distributor under contract for the state distributing agency. That's us. That's the USDA Foods team. The state distributing agency is us. It's Kat, it's myself, it's Lynda, it's sometimes Pamela, it is Crystal. We are the state distributing agency. Gold Star Foods acts as a distributor. So the reason they need to see your worksheet is they want to know what products, what end products have you forecasted for, and then they can ensure that the product is available in the warehouse, because they bring product into the warehouse on essentially an as-need basis with a forecast for typically 3 to 4 weeks out for orders. That's common practice. It would be no different than if you were using your independent distributor through your co-ops. So make sure that when Gold Star Foods asks for a copy of your worksheet, you provide that to them, because they're going to use it to service you well and ensure that they have the products in warehouse that you want to be able to place on order. And then, of course, please don't send us a copy of your worksheet. The state, we have no means for needing that. It is your work. The other thing I really ask is please check your work in WebSCM. If you've entered requisitions and do not run a requisition status report, the onus is on you. What you requisition is what we intend to get for you. If you made a mistake on your requisitioning, the only way you're going to know that is if you save your confirmed receipts and review them against your worksheet, or you run your requisition status report and use that information to check and balance yourself against your WebSCM forecasting worksheet. If you determine that you made a mistake, what we would like to have you do is please don't just say, I think I messed up. Can you check my requisitions? We do not have time for that. I will need for you to provide specifics of the identified error, and you must send those specifics to the USDA Foods team at sde.idaho.gov. Our entire team is on notice for those types of emails because it takes the entire team to resolve those types of issues. We may have to cancel requisitions so that you can re-enter requisitions. Please, please, please pay attention to your requisitions because that is the food we intend to get you. A couple of other things. There is a new process or a new tool that was implemented into WebSCM. It's a WebSCM stopgap. And what it did is allow the state distributing agency, your USDA Foods team, to set a 90% entitlement spent notification. So if your district is at a 90% spent, our team will get a notification. That was important to us because we want to make sure that if you've identified errors and we need to resolve those so that we can free up entitlement for you, then we need to act on that quickly. We also had the ability to set a 100% entitlement spent stopgap. So what happens is you, as the recipient agency, when you're entering orders, will see this error that says entitlement amount for program NSLP 2025 is exceeded. Please adjust order. That's critical because what you'll need to do is reassess what order were you entering at the time. If you were entering an order for, in this particular case, I know it's really small to see, but in this example, 60 cases of chicken fajita strips were entered, and that exceeded the entitlement. I now can go back in and reevaluate and enter. I would run my entitlement bonus summary report and see how much I'm overspent. And then I can look at exactly how much did those 60 cases estimate cost me. It was $4,723. If I'm overspent by $2,000, then I can adjust down if I need those fajita strips. And I would adjust down to 30 cases and then re-enter with the lower quantity. So please pay attention to those notifications. They come up right in WebSCM. Okay. And Erica, thank you for the reminder. Check your spam inbox for emails from WebSCM, because if you haven't cleared those to come into your inbox, they may go to your spam or your junk. You may also have a very, very stringent IT spam policy. So you've got to make sure that you're communicating with your IT if you're not seeing notifications that are important to you. That's a really great point. Appreciate you sharing that with us, Erica. Okay. The other thing that happens, this is really important, is on March 4th, exactly, your USDA Foods team gets to work consolidating requisitions because we have to have that process completed by March 31st. We don't have a lot of time. What does that mean for those of you that maybe this is your first time? That means that every single requisition that was entered by every single independent recipient agency has to be consolidated to meet the USDA requirements of a minimum of a quarter truckload of product. So between all the requisitions for, let's pick diced apricots, if we consolidate those all up, one school district wanted one case, one school district wanted two, we consolidate them all up so that we have a total figure and they don't meet a quarter truckload, we will likely have to cancel those requisitions because we don't meet the minimum requirement. So you will receive a notification that your apricots aren't coming. And you need to know that, because that means that you need to have a plan. If you use a lot of apricots, you may need to get those commercially because they're not coming through the USDA Foods program. The other thing to pay attention to during this consolidation process is the state distributing agency. We typically split anywhere from 55 to 65% of the truckloads that come into our state. What that means is that we will be working with other states in our region to say, okay, all of the requisitions entered for a specific product, let's just go ahead and say fajita chicken. In our state, we had enough requisitions to conceivably fill half of a truckload. We will then reach out to other states and say, the delivery date that we have requested in our catalog that our school districts chose was September 15th for all of the chicken fajita, but we only have a half a truck. Can you meet us? Oregon or Washington or Alaska or California or Utah or Wyoming or Nevada or Arizona. Can any of you meet us on this truckload for our delivery date? If we can get a state that can meet us, sometimes we have to negotiate. We may have to take a few more cases of product or a few less cases of product, and we may have to shift our delivery date. It may be better for the other state. They had planned in their catalog for an October 15th delivery. So we might meet them halfway and go with the September 30th. Any of those decisions outside of WebSCM have to take effect inside WebSCM. So once we start making adjustments, we either increase or decrease requisition amounts, we change delivery dates, all of those things show up on a WebSCM notification email. You need to know that because your plan in your forecasting worksheet just got changed so that we could meet a split. And that happens a lot in our state, so be aware of it. And then, of course, I want everyone to be aware, if we get into the consolidation process and the state determines there are error-prone requisitions, they will be canceled. And what do we mean by error-prone? I covered that in detail in the broadcast email that I believe Lynda noted in the chat was sent out on February 9th. But to reiterate what they look like, if I see that a school district, a recipient agency requisitioned cases of direct delivery beef and requested those to be sent to a processor, I can't help you with that because I don't know what you intended to do. I have no idea how many cases you wanted or how many pounds you need, because some products have to be ordered in pounds, some have to be ordered in cases, and I can't make assumptions. I cannot read minds. So if it was an error prone, we have to cancel them. So do yourself a favor, check your requisitions yourself against your requisition status report and know if you entered 1 pound of chicken to send to Tyson, 1 pound isn't going to get you anything. But I don't know if you really wanted 1 case or if you meant to enter 100 pounds and you just didn't do it accurately. So please check your own work. That's the only way we can get through this requisition process. There's a lot of work to be done in those very short few weeks. And then be aware that once your catalog is closed, the survey for DoD for allocations to DoD goes out on March 6th. The survey's already been created. It will be released. It will close on March 17th. Again, it's a constricted timeline. So within all of our consolidation efforts, we're also having to look at requisition or allocation requests for DoD survey, because we have to submit our DoD allocation to USDA by April 1st. So this time period is just, it's chaotic, and we need everyone to participate. So first thing to know about DoD is you've got to be able to have available entitlement. If you do not have available entitlement, even if you answer yes on the survey and you don't have available entitlement, you're not going to get a DoD allocation. So how do you solve for that? When you're done entering your requisitions, if you run an entitlement bonus summary report, you'll know how much entitlement you have left. And then you can successfully enter a request for an allocation to the DoD survey. You also must complete the survey in order to participate. We need you to do the survey. That's where the data comes from for us. If for any reason all of our truckload movement ends up in canceled product, and then you end up with additional entitlement to spend, but the catalog has been closed, we can allow for additional allocations into DoD. We're allowed to do that 3 times a year. So it is possible that if additional entitlement is available, we'll make that opportunity available through a second chance survey for DoD allocations. Your funds in DoD will be available the first day of school year 24-25. So we typically have those funds loaded into favors for you to be able to utilize. We shoot for July 1, but it really is dependent on approval from USDA, because we send our request to USDA. They have to approve it. They have to make sure that the DoD contractor is willing to accept our allocations and make those deliveries. And you have until June 30th, 2025 to use any of your allocation. And then I think we want to cover a few minutes of school year 23-24, current school year, inventory management. What should you be doing right now? You have USDA foods in the warehouse. We need for you to know what your warehouse, what your inventory is, because it belongs to you. You know that by running the USDA live inventory report. It's physically sitting in the warehouse right now. It tells you how many cases you have sitting there, how many you have on order, and how many you have left to order. You need to have a plan for ensuring that that food comes to your school district by the end of the school year. You can also, if you determine that you're going to need more product because you don't have any additional foods coming in throughout the rest of the school year, by looking at your USDA on request report, that tells you what's still expected to come in. If you don't have enough foods to get to the school year, look at the advertisement post and claim what you can reasonably use. I will warn, this is not an attempt to take foods that will sit in your warehouse all summer long. Those foods are intended to be used in the year that they were requested. So you can claim them, you need a plan to use them. What we do not and will not allow to happen is schools that look at their inventory and say, oh, I'm going to go ahead and dump it all now at the end of the year because I can't use it. That's not how this works. The state distributing agency will not allow school districts to dump product at the end of the school year. We've already discussed that with Gold Star. If we see schools dumping product, we will simply go in and remove the request that was entered on the advertisement post. You ordered it, you own it. And there are no reposts. In other words, if you claim product off the advertisement, and let's say you claim 50 cases of something, and then you decide you can't use all 50 cases, you can't go back and repost it. It doesn't work that way. WebSCM is not set up that way. We can't transfer the value of commodities appropriately in WebSCM. So please be aware of those limitations and have a plan for using your USDA foods and warehouse. Next, please. And then, of course, school year 23-24 single bank management. So this pertains to raw bulk materials that are sitting in the single bank. What do I mean by that? Raw bulk chicken sent to Tyson. Raw bulk pork sent to JTM and Tyson. Raw bulk peanuts sent to Smuckers. All those are raw bulk materials for end products. Please make sure that you have placed items on order now for future delivery. Some of you may not be aware that the Gold Star Foods ordering system allows you to do that. We want you to place your orders for the amount of product you anticipate being able to use, because we do have a few single banks that have been low usage, and we're opening those single banks up to all RAs in Idaho. That means that any recipient agency who didn't spend any entitlement on those raw bulk pounds now has access to them, because we will not be carrying over pounds in the state of Idaho. So keep in mind, if you're one of those RAs that did requisition pounds and you haven't used your pounds, those pounds cost you entitlement. So have a plan to use your pounds. Otherwise, we'll happily gift them to other recipient agencies. And with that, I think that is potentially the end of USDA foods. Oh no, this is really fun. We'd like to make sure that you're aware that we now have a USDA foods program blog. It is in SharePoint, and what we are using that blog for is for any updated information as well as current broadcast emails. They can be found there. We find this important for a couple of reasons. We have people say, you know, oh, I don't remember getting that email. Can you send it to me? Then our staff spends time to go find the email that they can't find in their email to forward it. We need for folks to own the information that we send out to them. So we decided that once we send a broadcast email up, the information will be on the blog, and then we'll simply let you know, please go find it in our blog, so that we're not spending valuable time finding information for folks that really need to be retaining that for themselves, especially during the next few months. We're incredibly busy, and we're working on your behalf to ensure that you're getting the USDA foods that you need. So hopefully all of that makes sense. And then I think there may be someone else presenting after me, but I honestly don't know who that is. We'll take it away. Who's next?
It's going to the next webinar, but I just wanted to check in and see. Thanks, TJ, first of all, for all that information. Did we? Yeah, so wanted to go back through the chat to see if we have other. Okay, so I've tried to put the link for the USDA Foods Program blog, and apparently that was not working from the chat. Can maybe Crystal or somebody put a link in the chat that will take us to the USDA Foods Program blog. Tiffany, we have a new question. Can you please clarify what new schools without entitlements will have access to? She believes produce was mentioned.
Yeah, and so Tiffany, I believe you're not a new school affected by this. I'm not sure what school district you're with, but for some reason I want to say I think maybe Forge. So if you could put in the chat specifically the concern, because there's only 2 school districts that are affected by this, and your district is not one of them. Okay, if you haven't even launched a new school, this is completely irrelevant. This has to be a school that started at the beginning of school year 23-24. So your school is a long way away from, if they're not even an approved school, we're a long way away from that conversation.
Okay, new question. Why is it recommended to only pick one vendor for further processed chicken products, Tyson or Foster Farms?
Oh, that's a really good question. Simply because for some people, This is a really, really new process. And so Sandra, thank you for asking that question. Because here's what folks need to know about how chicken works. And we'll just do it real quickly. Chicken, whatever amount of chicken sent to a processor is credited as 60-40. In other words, 60% of white meat and 40% of dark meat. And you need to have a plan for products that you can utilize at that processor. Pounds do not shift between processors. So if you send 1,000 pounds to Tyson, 60% of those pounds, 600, will be white, 400 will be dark. If you cross over and do the same thing with Foster Farms, you may have difficulty making sure that you get the full value of your entitlement by sending chicken to 2 different processors, because the same holds true at Foster Farms. It's a 60-40 split. And maybe the Foster Farms product that you're most interested in is only a white meat or only a dark meat. It may be a white and dark meat drawdown, but they don't draw down at 60-40. Most products draw down at, let me say, for example, a spicy chicken patty. It uses 9.01 pounds of white meat and 9.48 pounds of dark meat. It's almost 50% dark and white in that product, but you still have 60% and 40% of the pounds sitting at the processor to use. So it gets very complicated if you do that. But if you see that there are products you want to use for both, from both, you have every right to requisition pounds to both. We just want you to be cognizant and aware that at the end of the day, those pounds are in a single bank. You better have a plan to use them all. So hopefully that answers your question.
And I think,
Any other questions? I'm scrolling through.
yeah, I think we covered them.
Oh,
Bobby, go ahead.
Actually, there was a direct question, and if we have 2 minutes, entitlement summary for 22 or 2024 seems a lot higher than 2024. Do you think this will be reduced again like it was last year? With caution, I'm going to say be careful. That's why when we have DoD allocations, we don't normally submit 100% of the DoD allocation the first go round, because it is projected entitlement. And yes, if your entitlement is higher right now, it's because the rate entered into WebSCM is a placeholder rate by USDA. And we know what happened last year. They reduced it in July. So with caution, I would say yes, it's possible that entitlement is less than what you're seeing. So be careful about that. And then we'll go ahead and turn it over, Pamela. Thank you.
All right. Thanks again, TJ. Yeah, so our next webinar, this is the end of our presentation for today. The next webinar is March 20th, 2024, 8:30 a.m. Mountain Time. And this webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel at Idaho Child Nutrition Programs. You can find a link to our channel on our website, sde.idaho.gov/CNP. Here's a calendar for next month. Our non-discrimination statement and our contacts. If you have any questions, please reach out. As soon as you have a question, don't put it off. We're here to help support you. You have a lot of work to do and you're doing great. So thank you for all you do. I guess with that, we'll go ahead and conclude. Thanks again. Have a great day.